The metal ship crashed into the forest with a sound like thunder. Trees broke and fell as the strange craft carved a deep scar in the earth. Smoke rose from the wreckage, black against the morning sky of New Busan Colony. Hyunwoo heard the crash from the engineering station where he worked. He dropped his tools and ran toward the sound. Other colonists were already moving through the trees. Bora, the colony's medical officer, carried her emergency kit. Her face was serious but calm. "Stay back," called Daeho, the colony administrator. He was an older man with gray hair and careful eyes. "We don't know what that is." But Hyunwoo could not stay back. His job was to fix things, and something was clearly broken. He pushed through the bushes and saw the ship. It was not like any human ship he knew. The metal was dark and had strange patterns cut into it. Part of it was buried in the ground. "There's someone inside," Bora said. She had found a hole in the ship's side. "I can hear breathing." Daeho looked worried. "It might be dangerous. If they're hurt, we have to help," Bora said. She was already climbing into the ship. Hyunwoo followed her. Inside, the ship was dark and full of smoke. Everything looked alien. The walls had symbols he could not read. Strange lights blinked on and off. And there, trapped under a piece of metal, was something that was definitely not human. The creature was tall, even lying down. Its skin was gray with dark spots. It had 4 arms and legs that bent the wrong way. Its head was long, with 2 large eyes that watched them with intelligence and fear. Dark blue blood leaked from cuts on its body. "Don't move," the creature said in perfect English. Its voice was deep and rough. "I will kill you if you come closer." Bora stopped, but she did not run away. "You're hurt," she said. "We want to help." The creature made a sound like laughter, but it was not happy. "Help? You do not help enemies. You kill them or they kill you. This is the way." "Not our way," Hyunwoo said. He moved to the metal piece that pinned the creature down. "This is heavy. We need to lift it together." "Why?" the creature asked. Its big eyes stared at them. "Why do you help me?" "Because you need help," Bora said simply. She opened her medical kit. "What's your name?" The creature was quiet for a long moment. "I am Veltar, of the Catherian Empire. I am a scout and a warrior. I came to study your world before we take it." Daeho had climbed into the ship now. He heard what Veltar said. "Take it? You mean conquer it?" "Yes," Veltar said. He seemed proud of this. "My people are strong. We have taken many worlds. Many species serve us now." "Well," Daeho said calmly, "we'll have to talk about that later. Right now, let's get you out of there." Together, the 3 humans lifted the metal piece. Veltar pulled his leg free. It was badly hurt. Bora knelt beside him and began to clean his wounds. Her hands were gentle but sure. "Why are you doing this?" Veltar asked again. He sounded confused now, not threatening. "I told you I am your enemy." "Maybe," Bora said as she worked. "But right now you're just someone who's hurt." They carried Veltar to the colony's medical center. It was a small building with clean white walls. Bora had Hyunwoo help move Veltar to a bed. The alien was heavy and his forearms made it difficult. Other colonists came to see. They stared at Veltar with curiosity, but not fear. Children pressed their faces against the windows until their parents pulled them away. "I need to contact Earth," Daeho said. "They should know about this." "Later," Bora said. "First, let me work." She gave Veltar medicine for the pain. She stitched his cuts and set his broken leg. Veltar watched everything she did. His large eyes missed nothing. "Your medicine works on my body," he said with surprise. "Lucky for you," Bora said. "We're not so different inside." "We are very different," Veltar said. "Catherians do not help wounded enemies. We finish them quickly." "That's sad," said a new voice. A woman had entered the room. She was young with kind eyes. "I'm Yejin. I teach the children here." "Teach?" Veltar asked. "I help them learn things. About the world. About other people. About how to be good." Veltar thought about this. Catherian children learn to fight, to be strong, to take what they want. What if what you want is for everyone to be happy? Yejin asked. Veltar had no answer for that. Over the next few days, more colonists came to see the alien. Jinho came often. He was a farmer now, but Veltar could see he had been a soldier once. The way he moved, the way his eyes watched everything. Jinho brought Veltar food and asked questions about Catherian weapons and ships. You were military, Veltar said to Jinho. Long time ago, Jinho said. I fought in the border wars. Nasty business. I'm happy to grow food now instead of fighting. But you remember how to fight? Jinho's eyes became hard for a moment. Some things you don't forget. Veltar began to understand human language better. They gave him a small device that helped translate words. He learned about their colony. 2,000 people lived on New Busan. They grew food and made tools. They had families and friends. They sang songs and told stories. It was all very strange to Veltar. Catherians lived to conquer. They took pride in their strength and their victories. But these humans seemed to take pride in building things, in helping each other, in small, quiet moments. Why do you live like this? Veltar asked Daiho one day. You could take what you want, you have weapons, I have seen them. Because taking things doesn't make you happy, Daiho said. Building things does. Helping others does. My people would call you weak. Maybe, but we sleep well at night. 3 weeks passed. Veltar's wounds healed. He could walk now, though he limped. The colonists treated him like a strange guest, not a prisoner. They shared their food with him. They answered his questions. Some even seemed to like talking with him. But Veltar knew his people were coming. He had sent a signal before his ship crashed. The Catherian fleet would be here soon. They would expect to find a weak world full of easy prey. Looking at these humans, Veltar began to think his people might be wrong about that. There was something in the humans' eyes when they looked at their children. Something in the way Jinho's hands never forgot they had once held weapons. Something in the careful way Daiho planned every detail of colony life. These humans had chosen to be peaceful. But Veltar was beginning to understand that choice and ability were not the same thing. When the fleet arrived, his people would learn the difference. Veltar just hoped some of them would survive the lesson. 3 weeks had passed since Veltar crashed on New Busan. The alien had learned much about humans in that time. Too much, perhaps. Dr. So Young visited him every morning. She was Bora's supervisor, an older woman with steady hands and a gentle voice. She checked his healing wounds and asked how he felt. Today, like every day, she brought him tea. Why do you give me this? Veltar asked, holding the warm cup in 2 of his forehands. Because you like it, So Young said simply, and because sharing tea is how humans show friendship. We are not friends. I am your enemy. So Young sat down beside his bed. Are you planning to hurt anyone here? Veltar thought about this. No. Then you're not acting like an enemy. Maybe you're not one anymore. This confused Veltar. In Catherian culture, you were either a warrior or you were dead. There was no middle ground. But humans seemed to live entirely in middle grounds. Jinho came after lunch as he always did. The former soldier had become something like a friend to Veltar, though the alien still did not fully understand what friendship meant. Jinho brought stories today. I fought in 3 wars before I came here, Jinho said. He sat in the chair beside Veltar's bed. Saw terrible things. Did terrible things. This is good, Veltar said. War makes you strong. Jinho shook his head. War makes you broken. I came here to fix myself. By growing plants? By growing life instead of ending it. Jinho looked out the window at his fields. Every seed I plant is a choice. Every harvest is proof that I chose right. Veltar did not understand this, but he could see it meant something important to Jinho. Yejin came in the evening. She brought books and stories. Tonight she told Veltar about human history, about wars and peace, about heroes and villains, about people who chose to be better than they had to be. Your people fight much, Veltar observed. Too much, Yejin agreed. But we also learn. Each war teaches us something about the cost of fighting. Each peace teaches us something about the value of not fighting. Catherians do not learn such things. We only learn to fight better. That sounds lonely, Yejin said. It was lonely, Veltar realized. Catherians had no real friends, only allies and enemies. They had no art except weapons. They had no stories except battles. Everything in their culture was about taking from others, but humans created things. They made music that served no purpose except beauty. They told stories that taught wisdom. They built homes that were more than just shelters. They were trying to make the universe a little better. It was a completely alien concept to Veltar. On the 20th day, alarms rang through the colony. Veltar felt his heart sink. He knew what those alarms meant even before Deho came to tell him. "Ships," Deho said. His voice was calm, but Veltar could see tension in his shoulders. "Big ones, in orbit around our world." "My people," Veltar said. "Yes, they're demanding we surrender. They want you back." Veltar expected the humans to be afraid now. He expected them to blame him, maybe to hurt him. Instead, Deho just looked tired. "How many ships?" Veltar asked. 15, maybe 20. Veltar closed his eyes. A full war fleet. His people had not come just to rescue him. They had come to conquer. "You should surrender," he said quietly. "You cannot fight so many ships." "Maybe," Deho said. "What will happen to the people here if we surrender?" Veltar did not want to answer, but he owed these humans honesty. "The strong ones will be slaves. The weak ones will be food. The children will be raised as Catherian warriors." Deho nodded slowly. "Then we can't surrender. You will all die. Maybe. But we'll die free." This was madness to Veltar. Why choose death over slavery? Slaves could live, could hope, could perhaps escape someday. But Deho spoke as if freedom was more important than life itself. The colony transformed overnight. Veltar watched from his window as the humans prepared for war. But it was not like any war preparation he had ever seen. Catherians would have gathered weapons and formed battle lines. They would have roared and beaten their chests and challenged their enemies to single combat. The humans did none of these things. Instead, they moved quietly and efficiently. Hyunwoo and his engineers worked on the power plant and the communication systems. Bora and So-young moved medical supplies to hidden locations. Yijin helped evacuate the children to safer places. Jinho was different now. The gentle farmer was gone. In his place was the soldier he used to be. His eyes were cold and calculating. He moved through the colony, giving orders that people followed without question. "What are you doing?" Veltar asked when Jinho came to check on him. "Getting ready," Jinho said. "For what? You have no ships to fight their ships. You have no army to fight their army." Jinho smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "We don't need to fight their army. We just need to make them wish they'd never found us." That night, Veltar could not sleep. He listened to the sounds outside his window. Humans moving equipment, quiet voices giving instructions, the sound of digging. In the morning, he asked So-young what was happening. "We're preparing to give your people a welcome. They won't." "Forget," she said. "You should run, hide. There is no shame in survival. There's no honor in abandoning your home, either." Honor, another human concept that Veltar struggled with. Catherians understood pride and strength. But honor was something different. It was about doing what was right even when it was hard. On the 22nd day, the Catherian fleet sent down landing craft. Veltar watched them descend like falling stars. Each craft carried 50 warriors. The humans would be outnumbered 10 to 1. "Let me talk to them," Veltar said to Deho. "I can tell them to leave." Would they listen? Veltar thought about his people, about their pride and their hunger for conquest. No. Then talking won't help. The first Catherian warriors landed near the colony's main gate. They came out of their ships roaring battle cries and waving weapons. They expected the humans to cower or flee or beg for mercy. Instead, the humans were nowhere to be seen. The colony looked empty. Buildings stood with open doors. Gardens grew untended. The only sound was wind moving through the streets. Veltar watched from his window as the Catherian warriors spread out through the colony. He knew their commander, war leader Krextar, a proud warrior who had conquered 12 worlds. Krextar was smart enough to be suspicious of the empty colony. He sent scouts ahead and kept his main force together. But even smart Catherians thought like Catherians. They expected a fight. They expected resistance they could see and crush. They did not expect what the humans had prepared for them. The first explosion came from the main street. A building collapsed, burying 6 Catherian warriors. Then another explosion from the east. Then the west. The colony was not empty. It was a trap, And the humans, Veltar realized with growing dread, were very good at setting traps. The explosions shook the medical center where Veltar lay. He gripped his bed as dust fell from the ceiling. Outside his window, he could see smoke rising from the colony streets. "What is happening?" he called out. Dr. So Young appeared in his doorway. She looked calm, but her hands moved quickly as she checked her medical supplies. "Your people have arrived," she said. "Those explosions, we prepared a welcome for them." Veltar struggled to sit up. His legs still hurt, but he needed to see what was happening. "You are attacking them?" "We're defending ourselves." Through his window, Veltar could see Catherian warriors moving through the streets. But they moved carefully now, not with their usual confidence. They stayed close to walls and checked every corner. Smart. War leader Krextar was learning. But the humans had planned for smart enemies too. Another explosion. This one closer. Veltar saw 3 Catherian warriors thrown through the air. One did not get up. The others crawled for cover, their armor cracked and smoking. "How?" Veltar asked. "You are farmers and teachers, not soldiers." So Young gave him that same gentle smile she always wore. "We're whatever we need to be." She left to help the wounded. Even now, with battle raging outside, she would treat anyone who needed help. Catherian or human, it did not matter to her. But Veltar was beginning to understand that So Young's kindness was not weakness. It was a choice. And people who could choose to be kind could also choose to be something else. A new sound reached his ears. Weapons fire, the sharp crack of human rifles and the deeper boom of Catherian plasma guns. The real fighting had started. Jinho appeared outside Veltar's window, moving in a crouch. He wore dark clothes and carried a rifle. His face was painted with mud and his eyes were focused and cold. This was not the gentle farmer who had brought Veltar stories. This was a predator. Jinho disappeared around a corner. A moment later, Veltar heard Catherian voices shouting in alarm, then silence. More humans moved past the window. Veltar recognized some of them. Hyunwoo the engineer carried explosives. Bora the medic had somehow become a sniper, her rifle steady as she aimed from a rooftop. These people had been caring for Veltar for weeks. They had fed him and healed him and treated him like a friend. Now they were killing his people with cold efficiency. The worst part was how good they were at it. Catherian warriors were the best fighters in the galaxy. They trained from childhood. They lived for battle. But they were losing to a handful of human colonists. "Status report," Veltar heard a familiar voice say. War leader Krextar was using his communicator just outside the medical center. "Heavy losses, War leader," came the reply. "The humans have turned their entire settlement into a weapon. Every building is trapped. Every street is a kill zone. They know where we are, but we cannot find them. How many humans are you fighting?" We are not sure. They appear, attack, and vanish. Our sensors show heat signatures everywhere, but most are false readings." Veltar almost laughed. The humans were using their own heating systems against the Catherians. "Brilliant. Fall back to the landing zone," Krextar ordered. "We will bombard the settlement from orbit." War leader Scout Veltar is in there somewhere. Veltar is probably dead. If not, he dies with the humans. Our pride is worth more than one scout. This was the Catherian way. Veltar had lived his whole life believing it was right. Now lying in a human medical bed, he found it harder to accept. The humans had risked their lives to save him. They had cared for him when they could have let him die. Even now, with his people attacking their home, So Young had not abandoned him, but his people would sacrifice him without a second thought. "No," Veltar said aloud. The Catherian warriors began moving back toward their ships. They moved faster now, caring less about caution and more about escape. This was their mistake. The humans had been waiting for them to break formation. What happened next? Veltar would remember for the rest of his life. The retreating Catherians found the path to their ships blocked. Somehow, without being seen, the humans had positioned themselves between the warriors and their escape route. But these were not the same humans Veltar had come to know. Jinho stepped out of the shadows and he was no longer alone. A dozen other colonists stood with him. They moved like a pack of hunters who had cornered their prey. "Surrender," Jinho called out in perfect Catherian. "Lay down your weapons and you will not be harmed." War leader Krextar roared with laughter. "You dare demand our surrender? We are 50 warriors. You are barely a dozen farmers." "Yes," Jinho said simply. Last chance, Krextar raised his plasma rifle. It was the last thing he ever did. The humans moved like water, flowing around the Catherian formation. Their weapons were quieter than plasma guns, but far more accurate. They did not waste shots or ammunition. Every bullet found its target. In 30 seconds, it was over. Veltar stared through his window at the bodies in the street. 50 of the galaxy's most feared warriors, defeated by a handful of humans who had never wanted to fight at all. So Young appeared in his doorway again. "Are you all right?" she asked. "Your people," Veltar said. His voice was barely a whisper. "They killed them all." "Yes. But you are healers, teachers, farmers." "We are," So Young said. "We are also human." She said it like that explained everything. And maybe it did. Jin Ho came to see him later. The farmer was back, his weapons put away. He looked tired and sad. "I am sorry you had to see that," Jin Ho said. "You killed war leader Krextar. He conquered 12 worlds. He should have stayed home. You gave them a chance to surrender. We always do. But we don't give second chances." Veltar thought about this. "What happens now?" "Now we send a message to the ships in orbit. We tell them they can leave or they can join their friends. They will not leave. Catherians do not retreat." Jin Ho nodded sadly. "Then more people will die. That's their choice." That night Veltar could not sleep. He kept thinking about what he had seen. The humans had not enjoyed the killing. They had not celebrated their victory. They had simply done what they felt they had to do. But they had done it with a skill that terrified him. These humans had shown him kindness and compassion for weeks. They had shared their food and their stories and their friendship. But when threatened, they had become something else entirely. Veltar was beginning to understand why no one had ever successfully conquered humanity. It was not because humans were the strongest or the fastest or the smartest. It was because they were the most dangerous thing in the universe, a species that chose to be peaceful, but never forgot how to be anything else. The Catherian fleet would learn this lesson soon. Veltar just hoped someone would survive to remember it. The morning brought new ships to the sky above New Busan, but these were not Catherian vessels. Veltar watched from his window as human warships dropped out of hyperspace. They were sleek and fast, nothing like the bulky Catherian dreadnoughts. Their hulls were painted with symbols and names he could not read. "Reinforcements," Dr. So Young said as she brought him breakfast. "Other colonies heard about the attack." "How many?" Veltar asked. "Enough." The lead ship was called Soul's Pride. Its captain was a woman named Min Su, and when she appeared on the communication screens throughout the colony, Veltar saw something in her eyes that chilled him. It was the same look Jin Ho had worn during the ground battle. Cold purpose. "To the Catherian fleet," Captain Min Su said, her voice broadcast on all frequencies. "You have attacked a human settlement. You have killed human civilians. You have 1 hour to surrender or withdraw. After that, we will consider you hostile targets." The Catherian fleet commander responded with typical arrogance. "We are the Catherian Empire. We do not fear your small ships, human. Surrender or be destroyed." Captain Minsu smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. "Have it your way." What followed was not a battle. It was a lesson in human warfare. The Catherian ships were larger and more heavily armed. They had shields and armor designed to withstand conventional weapons. In any normal fight, they should have won easily. But humans did not fight normal fights. The human ships moved like dancers, slipping between the Catherian formations. They used the planet's gravity and magnetic field to their advantage. They coordinated their attacks with timing so perfect it seemed impossible. And their weapons. Veltar watched on the colony's screens as human ships fired projectiles that seemed harmless. Just metal slugs launched at high speed, but those slugs punched through Catherian shields like they were made of paper. "How?" Veltar asked Hyunwoo, who was monitoring the battle from the engineering station. "Simple physics," Hyunwoo said. "Mass times velocity equals force. Make something heavy enough and fast enough and no shield can stop it." It was brilliant and terrible. The Catherians had spent centuries perfecting energy shields. The humans simply ignored them. One by one, the Catherian ships died. They tried to run, but human ships were faster. They tried to fight, but human tactics were better. They tried to surrender, but it was too late for that. In 3 hours, the entire Catherian fleet was destroyed. Veltar stared at the debris field where 20 warships had been. Ships that had conquered worlds now reduced to scrap metal floating in space. Your people, he said to So Young. They are not what they seem. None of us are, she replied. That's what makes us human. The victory celebration was quiet. The colonists gathered in the main square, but there was no cheering or singing. They lit candles for their dead and shared food with their neighbors. Jinho found Veltar in the medical center that evening. How are you feeling? He asked. Confused, Veltar admitted. Your people destroyed my fleet, but you do not celebrate. Nothing to celebrate about killing, Jinho said. We did what we had to do. That doesn't make it good. Catherians would feast for days after such a victory. Maybe that's why you keep starting wars. Veltar thought about this. Maybe Jinho was right. Maybe the reason Catherians fought so much was because they enjoyed it too much to stop. What happens to me now? Veltar asked. That's up to you, Jinho said. You can stay here or we can take you home or you can go somewhere else entirely. You would let me leave? After I led my people here? You didn't know they would come. And even if you did, keeping you prisoner won't bring back our dead. More humans arrived over the next few days. Not soldiers this time, but helpers. Engineers to rebuild damaged buildings. Doctors to treat the wounded. Teachers to help the children who had been frightened by the fighting. Among them was Admiral Tae-hyun, the commander of the Human Defense Fleet. He was an older man with careful eyes and a quiet voice. He came to speak with Veltar personally. I understand you've been living with our people for several weeks, the Admiral said. Yes. What did you think of us before the attack? Veltar considered this carefully. I thought you were weak, soft, easy prey. And now? Now I think you are the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Admiral Tae-hyun nodded slowly. Good. That's what we want your people to think. You want to be feared? We want to be left alone. Fear is just a tool to make that happen. The Admiral showed Veltar recordings from the battle, not just the space fight, but everything. The ground combat, the traps the colonists had set, the way they had turned their peaceful settlement into a weapon. We shared these recordings with every government in the galaxy, the Admiral said. We want everyone to see what happens when humans are attacked. Veltar watched his people die again and again on the screens. War leader Krextar falling to Jinho's rifle. The fleet burning in space. Warriors who had conquered worlds destroyed by farmers and teachers. Why show me this? Veltar asked. Because you're going to carry a message back to your people. What message? That humans don't want to conquer anyone. We just want to live in peace. But if someone forces us to fight, we fight to win. Veltar understood now why the humans had kept him alive. Not out of kindness, though that was part of it. They needed a witness, someone to tell the Catherian Empire what had really happened here. My people will think I am a coward for surviving, Veltar said. Your people will think whatever they want to think, Admiral Tae-hyun replied. But some of them will listen. Some of them will remember. And maybe next time they'll choose differently. That night, Veltar lay in his bed thinking about choices. Humans seemed obsessed with them. They chose to be kind when they could be cruel. They chose to build when they could destroy. They chose to heal when they could harm. But they also chose to fight when fighting was necessary. And when they made that choice, they fought with everything they had. It was a terrifying kind of wisdom. The next morning, Dr. So Young brought him tea one last time. The Admiral says you're leaving tomorrow, she said. Yes, they are taking me to a neutral world where I can contact my government. I'll miss our talks. Why? Veltar asked. I am your enemy. So Young sat down beside his bed just as she had every morning for weeks. No, she said. You're my patient. There's a difference. Even after everything my people did, especially after everything your people did, someone needs to remember that even enemies can become friends given time and care. Veltar felt something he had never experienced before, something humans called sadness. He was going to miss these strange, gentle, terrifying people. Dr. So Young, he said. Thank you. For what? For showing me that there is another way to live. She smiled and patted his hand. Just remember that when you get home. And remember that humans prefer friends to enemies. Even after this? Even after this. The next day, Veltar left New Busan aboard a human ship. As they lifted off, he looked down at the colony one last time. Already the humans were rebuilding. Already they were choosing to create rather than destroy. He carried with him recordings of the battle and a message from Admiral Tae-hyun. But more than that, he carried the memory of what he had seen. Humans who chose peace but never forgot war. People who could show infinite kindness or terrible wrath, depending on what the situation required. The Catherian Empire needed to know what they had tried to conquer, and Veltar was going to tell them, whether they wanted to hear it or not. The Catherian High Council did not want to listen to Veltar's report. He stood in the great hall of their homeworld, surrounded by the most powerful warriors in the Empire. These were beings who had conquered entire star systems. They did not want to hear about defeat at the hands of farmers and teachers. "You survive because you are weak," War Commander Gextal spat. "A true warrior would have died with honor." "I survived because the humans chose to let me live," Veltar replied. "They could have killed me easily." "Lies. Humans are soft prey animals. They have no weapons that can threaten us." Veltar played the recordings from New Busan. The council watched their warriors fall to human traps. They saw their fleet burn in space. They witnessed war leader Krextar, conqueror of 12 worlds, cut down by a human farmer. The hall fell silent. "This must be faked," another council member said finally. "Humans could not do this." "I was there," Veltar said. "I saw it happen." "Then you saw wrong," War Commander Gextal declared. "The Empire does not lose to prey animals. We will send the Grand Fleet to this human world. We will show them what real Catherian power looks like." Veltar tried to explain what he had learned about humans, how they chose to be peaceful but never forgot how to fight, how they turned their entire society into a weapon when threatened, how they fought not for conquest but for survival. The council would not listen. 3 months later, the Grand Fleet departed for human space. 500 ships carrying the finest warriors in the Catherian Empire. They were going to show humanity what happened to species who dared to resist. The humans tried to negotiate. They sent messages offering peace, proposing trade agreements, suggesting ways both species could benefit from cooperation. The Catherian response was simple: surrender or die. The humans chose a third option. Veltar watched the news reports from his new position as a cultural advisor. The title was meaningless. No one wanted advice from a survivor. But it let him observe what happened next. The Grand Fleet attacked 3 human colonies simultaneously. They expected quick victories like they had won against so many other species. Instead, they found hell. The humans had used the 3 months well. Every human world had become a fortress. Every human ship had become a weapon. Every human citizen had become a soldier. But more than that, the humans had stopped pretending to be anything other than what they really were. Veltar saw the reports with growing horror. Human ships that could phase between dimensions, weapons that turned stars into supernovas, soldiers who fought for days without rest, food, or sleep, and behind it all a coordination that seemed impossible. Billions of humans across hundreds of worlds, all acting with single purpose while maintaining individual creativity. How? Veltar asked the intelligence officer who brought him updates. How do they coordinate so many without losing initiative? We do not know, the officer admitted. They have no central command we can identify. Yet, they act as one. What the Catherians did not understand was that humans did not need central command. They shared something more powerful than orders or hierarchy. They shared purpose. Every human in the galaxy knew what was at stake. Their children, their homes, their right to exist as free beings. And they fought for those things with a fury that terrified their enemies. The reports got worse every day. The Grand Fleet was not just losing, it was being systematically destroyed. Human tactics were evolving faster than Catherian commanders could adapt. They learn, Veltar told the High Council. Every mistake you make teaches them something new. Every victory you achieve shows them a weakness to fix. Impossible, War Commander Gextal insisted. No species learns that fast, but humans did. Because they shared information instantly across their entire civilization, every lesson learned by one ship was known by every other ship within minutes. The Catherians were not fighting individual humans. They were fighting the collective intelligence of an entire species, and they were losing. The final blow came when humans demonstrated their most terrifying weapon: restraint. They could have destroyed the Catherian homeworld. Veltar saw the analysis reports. Human ships had weapons that could crack planets or ignite atmospheres. They could have ended the Catherian Empire in an afternoon. Instead, they sent a message to the High Council. It was Admiral Taehyun, the quiet man Veltar had met on New Busan. He appeared on every screen in the Empire, speaking in perfect Catherian. "We do not want to destroy you," the Admiral said. "We never wanted to fight you at all. But you have forced this war upon us, and we will finish it." Behind him, Veltar could see displays showing the locations of every major Catherian military base. Every fleet position, every population center. The humans knew exactly where everything was. "You have one choice," Admiral Taehyun continued. "Surrender now, and your people will live under human guidance until you learn to live peacefully. Continue this war, and we will erase your civilization completely." To prove their point, they destroyed one uninhabited Catherian moon, not with bombs or energy weapons, but by somehow convincing its core to collapse. The moon simply folded in on itself and vanished. The message was clear: we can do this to any world we choose. The High Council emergency session lasted 18 hours. Veltar was called to give testimony again. "You lived among them," War Commander Gextal said. His arrogance was gone now, replaced by something like fear. "What do they want?" "They want to be left alone," Veltar said. "They always wanted to be left alone. And if we surrender, they will keep their word. Humans do not lie about such things. How can you be sure?" Veltar thought about Dr. So Young, still treating patients even while her world burned. About Jinho, choosing to grow life instead of taking it. About Yejin, teaching children to be better than their ancestors. "Because that is what humans do," he said. "They choose to be better than they have to be." The surrender came the next day. The Catherian Empire, which had conquered 24 species and ruled 1,000 worlds, gave up without landing a single successful blow on human territory. The humans accepted the surrender immediately. They stopped attacking. They offered medical aid to wounded Catherian warriors. They began making plans for peaceful reconstruction. It was, Veltar realized, the most human thing they could have done. Veltar was assigned to the Reconstruction Council. His job was to help his people understand their new situation. Many Catherians were angry, confused, humiliated. They had built their entire culture around strength and conquest. Now they had to learn to live differently. "Why did they spare us?" a young Catherian asked during one of Veltar's talks. "Why show mercy to enemies?" Veltar thought about everything he had learned on New Busan, about the choice between kindness and cruelty, about the difference between strength and violence because, he said finally, they want us to become something better than what we were, and they believe we can. It was a strange concept for a Catherian to accept, that enemies could become friends, that the strong could help the weak instead of enslaving them. That mercy could be more powerful than violence, but Veltar had seen it work. He had lived it. And slowly, carefully, he began to teach his people what humans had taught him, that there was more than one way to be strong.